2, 3. Hey, everybody. Hey, Rob Jensen joining us today, CMSWire contributor from Ignite Advisory Group. What's going on, Rob?
Hey, Dom. Good to meet you. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. You're a longtime CMSWire contributor. Thank you for that. The contributors are the lifeblood of our website, no question about it. And you've been doing it since 2018. And, your theme has been customer advisory boards. And we have another article today about that. And we'll get into that in a moment. But I just wanted to, Rob, paint the picture of what's been going on in this area for customer advisory board with the pandemic. I mean, this totally blew up everything.
Yeah, for the last couple of years, I mean, everyone's been, no one's been traveling. Companies are their employees are working from home. So for customer advisory boards, people just haven't been meeting them in person. Now, what they've been doing is they've been meeting virtually through, typical Zoom meetings or whatever the format is. So companies are still doing that, and that's been successful and good to at least keep the conversation going from when they were meeting. You can still engage with customers. A lot of them might have had different challenges with, the supply chain, for example. And then interestingly, Dom, some customers that are on customer advisory boards, they're actually doing really well, right? It might be like a grocery store, or it might be another chain, or it might be another company that's actually doing really well. So it's good to check in with your customers, make sure they're doing okay, and see how you can help them.
And I'll tell you, Rob, literally today, I sent an email to our advisory board, CMSWire. After editing your article, yeah. I said, oh, my Lord, I have to do this. And what I did was I sent a follow-up email to our board, and I showed them something tangible that happened based on their input. Nice. And that's one of the things you talk about in the article. That's so important.
Yeah, one of the top areas where that will be a problem for customer advisory boards traditionally is if you continue to meet with them and they kind of wonder, hey, whatever happened with, this idea that we had, or, I made this suggestion, whatever happened with that. And customers will start to lose interest, or if they don't see progress, they can even start to drop out, or they'll at worst, they'll question it, right? So it's always good to include in a meeting agenda what, kind of review previous input, like here's what we've heard and here's what we've done with it. Some of them we've been able to complete, right? Some of them might be easy, low-hanging fruit. Maybe we're going to have on your product roadmap anyway. And then some of them might be more difficult and might take more time. And then, at least hey, we're going to do this. It's, we need to work with our partner, or it's on our roadmap or whatever. And then some of them, sometimes customers will give you an idea and it might be a good idea and you just can't do it for whatever reason. It could be money, personnel, technology, limitations, whatever. And that's okay to say, hey, that was great input. And it's good to say, we like the idea, but we just can't do it, and here's why, rather than, oh, let's ignore that and then hopefully it'll go away, right?
Right. It's like, yeah, we talked about this like for 20 minutes in the last meeting. What's the action from that? And if there's no action, like you said, it's okay. Like, yeah. Give them an update. We looked into this. It didn't quite jive with what we were talking about. So, and then another thing you mentioned is, the idea of whoever leads those boards is going back to that document from the beginning, that promise, that email. If it's a living document, fine. If it's an email outline, fine. But always going back and remembering what you promised to the customer advisory board.
Right. Hopefully when companies establish their customer advisory board, they put together a charter document, which really is just put down on paper of what this board's going to be about, what the membership is, what are the goals, what are the mission, what's the scope. And over time, sometimes that mission can kind of creep a little bit, right? Maybe, due to input or limitations, the topics have kind of meandered a bit. And that might have happened due to COVID with the lockdowns and people doing things virtually. So when customers are getting back to meeting in person, it's probably a good idea to take a look back at that charter document and just make sure that you are, doing what you promised that you promised that you were doing as part of your program. And a lot of times the customers themselves remember that too. And it's, they agreed to participate on a board that focuses on this topic with these goals. And if that's kind of morphed or changed, you want to address that. It may be a change because the customers wanted it, but there might be some customers who might say, hey, wait a minute, this change is not what I agreed to. So it's good to, hey, just revisit it, make sure that you're sticking to what you agreed to and what you said you were going to do.
Yeah. And I always like the idea too of asking if you can. I mean, they're so strapped for time, these customers, they're giving you their time, So sort of asking like, hey, is there anything particular you might want to discuss? And at the same time, Rob, you can't expect that they're going to answer you ahead of that meeting. They're busy. Sometimes they just want to show up to what's on their calendar, sit back, listen to what's going on, and maybe offer a little input. So you're not always going to get the ahead of time input, but is that a good idea too, to maybe solicit some input so the agenda can reflect things they want to talk about versus things your company wants to talk about?
Absolutely, Dom. We recommend that companies on their boards put together a customer-driven agenda. In other words, it's not what you want to tell the customers, it's what they want to talk about. And you might think what your customers and their challenges and their problems, or at least you think that you do. And what's the priority or what's most urgent for them will often surprise the host company. So what we recommend is you engage with customers before then, and how you can do that is certainly for a new customer advisory board, you just literally interview them. You get some questions, you get some topics, you put them on the table, and you say, here's what we think your concerns are. And they'll say, yeah, that's a concern. Well, that's not really a concern. But what about this? It's not even on the list. This is a real concern. And then you make that a part of the agenda, and then it's prioritized, and that's what you really drill down on. And that's what the members want. So you engage them, you interview them, you put together its own summary of what your customers are most challenged with. And you can do that with surveys too, maybe later in the program after a couple meetings. But then you create that agenda, and then you focus on those topics. In other words, what you don't want to do is get your customers in a room and tell them what's important to you, and you're just giving them product demos and sales pitches, and your canned investor relations PowerPoint. That's what you don't want to do. That'll turn them off, especially if they've traveled all the way to wherever, and they can just get this could have been a webinar, right? If you're just going to communicate to me, I don't need to be here for it. So you want to engage them on topics that they are concerned about, and then try to get some information from them. And you want to go there asking questions and wanting to learn. The member should talk 80% of the time. The host company only 20%.
Yeah. I like to talk, and it's funny, we're having like a contributors meetup coming up soon, and my coworker said, hey, make sure you let them do most of the talking. And I'm like, okay, that's a friendly reminder that I like to take the mic every now and again and rule the land. But yeah, step back. That's the point. That's the value you're going to get, is what they say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes salespeople's eyes will get all big when they light up and they think, oh, we have customers trapped in a room for 8 hours. Yeah. Let me get my new, my new demo out and my new sales pitch. That's not what it's about.
Yeah. And they're not there to be updated on what you're doing. They're there to have you listen and improve their experience later based on what they say.
Absolutely, and come up with new solutions to challenges that you maybe you don't even offer that. You don't even address that. Maybe you might want to consider either launching a new product or new offering, a new market, or partnering with someone that, hey, there's this other vendor. This happens all the time. A lot of the customers are using this particular vendor to do something kind of associated with what you do. Wow, we should partner with those guys, and maybe we can come up with a joint solution to address that other challenge we don't even know about, right? So that happens pretty regularly.
Yeah. Rob Jensen into his 5th year as a CMSWire contributor. Can you believe it? I'm so glad Siobhan Fagan, my coworker, found you, connected, and you're still with us. We're looking forward to future pieces on this and any other topic you feel is important in customer experience. The door is wide open. You're a great writer. So thanks for joining us today, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dom. I love to contribute. It's great meeting you, and I look forward to contributing in the months and years ahead. And if anyone has any questions about customer advisory boards, hit us up.
All right, Rob, thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thanks, Tom.
All righty.